Hello everybody, Doug Rucker here. We're pressurecleaningschool.com and DougRuckerStore.com, where my passion is helping you new guys get started in the pressure washing industry. Just love helping you guys and watch your business grow and help you become successful. Hey, had a viewer last week ask about rebuilding a Suttner pressure washing gun. So today, that's what I'm going to be doing. We've got the gun. Got the repair kit, and we're going to show you how to do that coming up next. Okay, let's talk first about the actual gun, what it's going to look like when it's working properly. When you release the trigger and stop the flow of water, you should never have any water streaming or slowly leaking out of any of your nozzles. So once you release the trigger and you can hold it up, there should be absolutely no water coming out of the nozzle. One of the other things that I want you to be aware of is you've got pressure built up in this gun. So trying to remove the gun from your hose or the ball valve can be very difficult when you've got pressure built up. So you've got to make sure that you release it by pulling the trigger. So like you see here, when I pull the trigger, if I let go and try to remove the gun, it's very difficult because that pressure is built up. So what you have to do is either turn the water source off to the machine from the house or the building, or use your ball valve and release the pressure, and then it will come off very easily. So here's a gun that is not working properly. It's leaking, so we pull the trigger and we spray a little bit of water. And then what happens is when we let go of the trigger, a couple things happen here. Number one is you're going to have water that's leaking out, and then it's also going to make a sound. Your engine will actually make kind of a sound where it's sounds like when you're releasing the trigger, but it's actually not bypassing, or it's going into bypass. And so what happens is it makes kind of that type noise. And it, depending on how bad the leak is going to be how often that happens. And that can happen from not turning the ball valve off completely either. But that's what it's going to look like that you just saw a second ago. And you see here, water is streaming out of your nozzle and it won't stop. One way you can stop it is by turning your ball valve off. And of course, you're not going to have water coming out. So that's one way to control it. But basically, that's what it's going to look like. You're still going to have water streaming out of a nozzle, and you're going to hear your machine making kind of a funny noise, much like when you released a trigger and it just kind of, you don't want that. That can do damage to your pump and your engine. So make sure you get these things fixed and replaced. Here is an example using the ball valve. You'll be able to hear me. What I'm doing is I'm bogging down the machine. And so that's not what you want to do. That's what happens when you don't totally turn your ball valve off or you've got a leaky gun. And so it's just not good. You've got to have water flowing completely through with no leaks. Make sure you're checking your O-rings. Make sure you're replacing the guns. Here you can see I'm bogging it down again. Just to let you know, using the wrong size nozzle can do this. Trying to rinse with too much pressure with that ball valve can also do that. So just make sure that you're, not turning that ball valve down too much when you want to rinse, or see, that's too much because it's causing the engine to bog down. Turn it off and you're good to go. Okay guys, the first thing you want to do when you're going to rebuild your gun is, of course, take your gun apart. There's 8 screws, 2, 4, 6, 8 screws that you've got to take out. I love this little cobalt screwdriver because it's kind of got ratcheting power to it, but I've unloosened most of these. I think I tightened this one down just to show you. So just take all your screws out, and then I just kind of flip it over, let the screws fall out. Make sure you get them all out, and then I take the screws and kind of set them aside so they don't get lost. Been there, done that. And then open it up and you reveal the insides of the gun. And so that's basically your first step. Just want to let you know that if you ever decide not to rebuild your gun, don't throw them away. These little brass fittings and stuff like that, guys make money off of them. But what I was going to tell you is I used to save this piece. It made a nice little short wand off your gun. I haven't done it in years, but I can remember back in the old days we used to save these, and they made a nice little short wand coming off your gun. So that might be something you want to do. But anyway, open it up, and it's going to be time to start. Okay, so when you get ready to start your repair, what I like to do is put the inside of the gun housing onto a vise like this, and then I use a 3/4 wrench, and I loosen the top part. That's the part down in there that you're going to rebuild. So I've already loosened it a little bit, so I just kind of take it and loosen it, then get it to where I can hand untighten. So just hand untighten it, and then wait for it, coming up next. So a couple things I do next. I like to bring it back over to the workbench and just slowly unscrew this, and I do it real slow and kind of keep my hands over it. You just never know when something's going to pop out or whatever. There's nothing in here that should do that, but you just never know. So I just unscrew this. This is your main packing and mainly the guts to the inside of the gun. There's a couple more pieces in there that we're going to take out that I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, guys, so in your kit, your spare parts kit, the repair kit for the gun, you're going to get, it comes in a little bag like this. I think these run about 13 or 14 bucks. We sell them at the DougRuckerStore.com. I don't even think they're on the website. It's just something people call and ask for. But anyway, that's the kit that you get. And basically on the inside, you've got these 3 items that you're replacing. These are all just tools that you use as part of replacing the parts. So these are not parts that go inside the gun. Only these 3 parts here are the parts that you use to put inside the gun. So I always like to get them out, separate them, and get them kind of in order, make sure I've got everything before I get going on the actual. Okay, guys, like I was saying before, once you take this out, nice and slow and easy, I'm just taking it out again to show you. Inside is going to be this piece, and so what you're going to do is take a pair of needle nose pliers, get down there and grab it, and just kind of wiggle it back and forth and pull it out, and that's it. Now pay very close attention to how you pull this out. So this went in this way, and I'm going to show you why you want to pay attention to this. One side of this is kind of rounded. I don't know if you can tell the difference, but one side is different. One's going to have kind of like a concave to it, where it kind of dips in, and the other side does not have that. It's kind of beveled around the top, but this side kind of goes down in, it kind of concaves. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, so the way you take it out is the way you want to make sure you're going to put the new one in, because there's a reason that they do that. So just pay very close attention that the concave part is the part that sticks up out of the gun. Okay, so pay very close attention to that. Make sure you do it properly when you're reinstalling it. All right, guys, so the next thing you've got to get out is you've got to get this little piece that you're going to be replacing, but that's got to come out too. And so you're going to use a couple of these tools that they provided you to get that out. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take this little attachment that's got threads on it, and you've got this little thing. One's got a short end, one's got a long end. And so you're going to take the short end and you're just simply going to slide it into that little hole there. It's a little snug. Matter of fact, it kind of gets stuck when you get ready to take this apart, and you have to use needle nose pliers. But that's kind of how that's going to look. And then you're going to take this, just like this, and you're going to screw this all the way down. One of the reasons I was telling you when you take this part off is sometimes some of these parts fall out, so you just want to make sure that you're unscrewing that this piece when you're unscrewing it slowly, and make sure they don't fall out. The next thing you're going to do is you've got this little bolt here, and you're going to take and put that on there, and you're going to take the cap, which has got the hex notches in it, and stick it on top of there, and you're going to screw this down as far as you can go. Get it down as good and far as you can go, nice and snug. Then let that come off. You're going to take this piece, the big piece, and unscrew it back out. And what you should have is the little piece right there. That's the piece we wanted. So we're going to unscrew it from there. And that's your little piece that causes a lot of problems. It's got a little metal piece that goes around it. It'll get corroded, rusted, break. It can even come off. So that's one of the key parts right there. Okay? So that's how you get that piece out. All right, now the next thing that you've got to do is there's a little packing ring and a little O-ring down inside of here. This is the new part, but that's kind of what it looks like. You've got a small black O-ring and a white plastic packing ring, and that's down in here where we took just use this tool. So that's down in this hole where we took this out, and then we took this little small piece out. And so now we're going to take the O-ring and the packing out. And so you've got this tool that they send with it. It works sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I just have to use a dental pick, but you have to pay attention that on this side here is one little notch, on this side is two little notches. And so the side with one is the one that you use to pull out the O-ring and the packing nut, and then, or packing ring, and then the side with two is for reinstalling the new one. So just think of number one, repair, number two, install, and that'll help you remember. That's how I always did it. So anyway, we just take this and slide it down in there all the way, and just kind of twist a little bit, kind of shake it back and forth and pull it back out, and it should come out. Let's try it again. But like I said, a lot of times this little tool just doesn't work. Well, there's the O-ring. So you see it came out. That's the little O-ring. And then down inside there should be also the little white packing. We'll see if we can dig a little deeper. But no. So what we'll do is get our trusty dental pick. That's why I like these dental picks, because they're long. I can see it down there. I don't know if you can, but I can see it down there. I don't know if I can get the light right. I want you guys to see it, but it's down there. There it is. See that little white thing down there? That's the white packing that we gotta get out. So we take this and we'll stick it down there and get the right one. Might need something with a little hook on it. Let's try the little hook. No, that's not going to get to it. Let's try
this. The little square. It's been so many years since I've done one of these. So after many attempts, I actually had to put this on the vise, but I've got it loose in there, and there it came out finally. So that's the white piece that we had to get out. So sometimes this little white piece takes a little time. You just have to be patient and just keep jabbing around until you can get it loose. I actually sprayed a little bit of the lubricant that I use on all my equipment. I don't use WD-40. This is the best stuff ever. But I actually sprayed some of that down there, and it kind of helped loosen it up a little bit, and was able to finally get it. But that's the hardest part of this job, and the most frustrating part is trying to get that little thing out of there. And so that's one of the reasons I stopped repairing these things, because it's just kind of a little bit time consuming. Of course, if I wasn't making this video, I could probably do this a little faster. Plus, if I was in practice, I haven't replaced these in years. But anyway, that's one of the frustrating things. I just think sometimes it's cheaper to replace these, and I'm going to put a link to another video about guns and pressure washing gun assembly and that type of thing. If you want to view that, you can. But now let's show you how to get it put back together. All right, so now we get ready to put this all back together. And so we're basically just going to go back in the reverse order. So we want to take our little white packing and the O-ring off, and we're going to put this in the same order, but we're going to use the side that's got the two little notches on it that I was talking about before. I don't know if you can see that or not. I wonder if I put the flashlight on. There's two notches there, one notch there. See that? So that's the removal end. This is the insertion end. So we're going to put our O-ring on first, the black rubber O-ring, and then the next will be the white little packing ring. And we're going to take and stick that, kind of turn your gun up so it goes down in there good, and put that in there, and it'll come out. And then I just like to look down there with my flashlight and make sure it's seated good and it looks good, and it does. So once we've got that done, then it's on to the next step of putting this in. All right, guys, so it comes time to put this little piece in. What we're going to do is take our tool that we used a while ago to take it out. But instead of putting this in first, what we're going to do is run our little bolt through here, and then we're going to screw the end just like this onto here. We're going to get it snugged up real fast. By the way, this little piece here, I don't know if you can see, there's a little, get the light here. There's a little like band, a little piece of wire, and it's got a cut in it. That's okay. But what happens a lot of times on these guns is this thing will just come off, and that can actually cause you to stop drawing chemical if you're downstreaming. You know, bleach runs through these things, they get rusty or whatever. This one, the old one, where did it go? Did not come off. It's still on there. So it was still in good shape. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, flashlight is going down. Anyway, flashlight's going bad. But anyway, this one was still good. But that's one of the things that will cause these things to stop drawing chemical too. So basically, I'm just going to stick this all the way down in here, and we're going to screw this down again. And I don't know if you remember, but on the previous time when we were taking it out, we did this with a little knob and screwed it all the way down, and then we took it out using this part. No, we took it out using this part first. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this all the way down, nice and snug. Then we're going to take our cap and put on here, and we're going to loosen the bolt out because what's happening is that fitting, that black thing, is keeping that packing down in there snug. So we'll pull this all the way out, and then we take this off. So that's that step, and that part is in there good. Again, take my flashlight, I can see it, it looks good. Everything in there is looking good. I don't know if you can see. But it's looking good. All right, so on to the next step where we're gonna put this in. Remember the key thing I told you about this? Gotta remember that. Guys, all right, so it's time to put this piece back in. Remember I told you one end of this has a little concave where it kind of dips. The other end is more flat. So that flat end is the part that's going to go in, and the concave end, I don't know if you can see it or not, the concave part is going to be out. So this is not really marked in the instructions, so you want to make sure that you get this part right. There is a little ball in here, and that's why it's kind of concave, so it can fit on there. So just insert this down into the hole there. And I usually take my needle nose. By the way, a while ago when I was using needle nose to remove that one little piece, you need to make sure that you have some skinny needle nose for this job. Don't get those ones, see this style of needle nose? Those are kind of flat versus these are much skinnier. These are the type that you need. These are old needle nose I used to use for fishing. Get hooks when I hook the fish down deep. But anyway, that's what you need for that. And then once you've got your little pin in there seated, then just take your valve and screw it back down. And I usually go to, and again, I usually go to the vise and put this on the vise to tighten it down. Well, that's how you do a repair on a ST2300 or 2305. I think this will work for 2600, 2700, a few of the Sutner guns. This is my favorite gun to use. It's got the relaxed action on the gun handle here, so that it's not hard to hold like some of the general pump guns. I used to use this for years. And this is an okay gun. I liked it. I used it for a lot of years. One of the things I didn't like is the screws here where you take it apart rust pretty easy, and you can't repair this gun because you can't get the screws out. So you have to pay attention to that and make sure that you're either rinsing the gun off or repair it before they get rusted. But as you can see, these screws, this gun's been in use for quite some time, and these screws are perfectly fine. So I really like this Sutner gun. But you have to really listen to the sounds and watch things that are happening. Look for those leaks. Listen for that sound that we talked about earlier that your machine will make. That can be a sign that your gun is either bad or you've got an O-ring. Always like to check for an O-ring that's bad. Always like to check for the simplest thing first. O-rings, check those, replace those anytime you've got water leaking anywhere. To me, I've just found that the easiest thing to do is just have a spare gun and replace it. It's the quickest thing to do. If you want to salvage these guns, that's fine. I would wait till you've got 5 or 6 built up, buy 5 or 6 kits, replace them all at the same time when you've got, you know, plenty of time. But to me, the cost, I think these are like 13 bucks to get the kit, and then the time it takes to repair them. I can have a new gun for 35 bucks, throw me a couple of brand new, you know, fittings in, because anytime you're going to replace these, you usually want to replace the fittings anyway because they're bad or old, and as a preventive thing, you just want to keep them replaced. The other thing that you can do is if you're using a ball valve and the gun starts leaking, and we do this to get you through, you can always just Velcro this. I've used a tennis ball before where if you dropped it, the tennis ball might bounce out. Years ago, when I first started, I used a piece of stiff garden hose that would fit right here and go right there and hold this gun open if I needed it, wanted it to stay open. That way I could reach up and grab the garden hose, throw it in my pocket if I needed to. But you could do that, keep this gun open, and just operate by turning the ball valve on and off like I showed you in the video. So few ways to get around it, but if you want to repair them, that's fine. A lot of guys like to do that. They like to repair downstream injectors and all that. I just prefer got my flashlight on. I just like I just replace the parts because it's so much easier and faster for me to do. So hope this has helped you guys. Hey, leave me a comment, ask me a question, anything I can do to help you, just let me know. And I hope this has helped you on your gun repairs. And subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, let me know any questions, and hit that bell. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notifications when I come on. Thanks guys, have an awesome day.